This is the new Glorious Model 02, a new flagship mouse from Glorious, previously known as Glorious PC Gaming Race. In this review, I'll tell you whether or not the improvements to the Model 02 is enough for it to be considered endgame worthy, or if there's something missing because there's holes in it. There is also regrettably a change that I think is just a bit too extreme, which I'll get onto very shortly. Visually, you might not think much has changed from the original Model O, but it's the finer details that are more important. First, there's a minor adjustment to the length. It is now 126mm long, down from 128, but it is still 66mm wide and 38mm tall. The holes have gone from a honeycomb design to small circular ones which are only on the palm rest and underside of the mouse. There's no holes on the mouse buttons at all, which applies to those that had the older version of the Model O. I'll share my thoughts on the holes a bit later on though. But now we come to the biggest change. The change that is most certainly going to decide the popularity of this mouse. You see, the weight has been changed from 69 grams to just 68. If this mouse fails, we know why. Finally, a change that I am personally happy to see is the coating has gone from a soft matte to one that is more similar to the Razer series of mice, so it's a coarse texture. The remaining changes are a slightly more concave shape on the main mouse 1 and 2 buttons, and also the buttons themselves no longer hang over the sides, providing a resting spot for your fingers. Glorious do say this is mainly for claw and fingertip users, but you can use a palm grip. There's a large makeover to the Glorious Model 02, featuring a new sensor known as BAMF2. BAMF stands for Beautiful and Majestic Frogs. It's probably a Pixart 3395 sensor, as it has DPI support up to 26,000 DPI and also features motion sync, which is basically having the mouse sending and your PC receiving information at the same time. Honestly, the benefits are marginal, but I'm sure someone that is smarter than me will explain why I'm wrong. The battery life has improved from 70 hours to 110 hours on 2.4 GHz wireless, which is a nice improvement, but I'd imagine this includes all the lights turned off. There's also some changed switches, which Glorious refer to as their own Glorious switch. They say there's no double clicking with these, very little pre and post travel, and last for 80 million clicks. And here's a sound check. Honestly, these switches are very nice. They're crispy, consistent, and I've also tested to see if I can get it to double click, and out of like 500 attempts, it just hasn't done it. The side buttons, which are well placed and very easy to reach no matter what grip you use, feel great, and the scroll wheel is very solid also. There's also a DPI button, and that works pretty well. And lastly, the software. For the first time ever, the software for a gaming mouse isn't a complete pile of stinky garbage. At least from my experience. There's no bloat, you have a lighting section, key bindings and performance where you can toggle motion sync, change lift-off distance, debounce times, polling rates and DPI profiles. I'm still searching for some hidden and redundant integration that syncs to a washing machine or something, but no, it's completely simple and it works very well. So congratulations Glorious on making software that isn't a pile of hot garbage. However, now it is time for my opinion. Honestly, I do think that this is a gaming mouse. As someone that wasn't really happy with the previous generation of Model O's and D's, this new Model O is a huge step up. I'd always felt that the previous generation had this cheap feeling behind them. The previous ones I owned always had issues with quality control, with double clicking or mushiness, and even just some creaking on the shell. But even if I did have one that was completely fine, there was still this cheap look and feel to it. But this is a high quality mouse. I'll address the holes in a moment, but for the switches and buttons, they are fantastic. The coating is a massive improvement and the scroll wheel is a bit soft on the notches, but it feels so secure and solid. The whole thing feels incredible. It's hard to put into words how well made this mouse feels. It's also really comfortable to use. I've tried all grip types and they've all felt pretty great. Obviously it's not purposely designed for palm grip, but as the size don't go in that much, you can still get a bit of pinky support, which is what I look for when palm gripping a mouse. Claw and fingertip has felt great. Combined with the buttons no longer hanging over the sides and the new coating, this is a very comfortable mouse to use with more options to adjust your grip. Now before I get to the holes, I just want to say something about the aesthetics of this mouse. I personally think that this mouse looks pretty good. It looks very well made, nice and sleek. Now let me turn on the default RGB. Now it looks cheap and nasty. You've spent all this time designing and making a good looking gaming mouse and you ruined it. Just stop with the RGB already, it's really outdated and lame. Does everybody at the glorious office go crazy when they see a rainbow and just stand there staring at it until it disappears? Anyway, it's hole time. Personally, I don't have an issue with holes, but I think it has been proven that holes aren't really required to obtain a lightweight mouse. Could they have removed the RGB and filled these holes in and kept the same weight? Maybe. It is a bit strange as well, considering the mice they release on Glorious Forge are lighter and also don't have RGB or holes in their mice. As I said, I don't mind holes, however I can possibly see this going against the mouse here, especially as a lot of new mice releases these days don't have any holes at all. Now the price of this is around $100, which considering the hardware is a respectable price, but it is at a higher price than some of the recent competition from Pulsar, Lamzu and Extrify to name a few. And there is one problem that has pooped on a promising party. This mouse, or at least my version, has a bit of a wobble to it. So one of the mouse feet is probably just not put on properly. I'm not going to be like, oh, this mouse is terrible now, because honestly it's a very minor thing, and I only noticed it when I started to use a glass mouse pad. But I am sharing this information with you, because if this is a constant issue, I get to be patient zero. This is where it all started. But if Glorious are able to keep up this quality standard in production, then I think that this is really worth the extra price. It really does feel that solid. I really hope that they make a version with no holes. Just get rid of the RGB if you have to. Because Glorious, yeah, I'm talking to you now. You've made a very good, high quality product. Do what needs to be done. Turn off the lights, fill in the holes. So I'd highly recommend buying this mouse. This is probably one of the highest quality mice that I have used. And I believe this mouse was delayed for quality control problems as well. So that definitely seems to have paid off here because it is really outstanding. Dare I say that this mouse might actually be glorious. Thank you to Glorious for sending this mouse out to me, and if you're wanting a review of a possible endgame level mousepad, there is one on screen now for you to watch. So do it.